All right. Philip here from Toon Tactics TV, giving you my pre-match preview of Aston Villa versus Newcastle United tomorrow at Villa Park, 8:15 p.m. A Premier League fixture. It's got a lot in it. The wider context, obviously, Aston Villa in the Champions League positions, trying to push on and secure their place. Newcastle United, who I believe our team's on a recovery arc. There's green shoots of recovery, especially in this January, despite a heroic loss, for instance, the heroic loss in my view against Man City, and even against Villa, against Liverpool, we lost 4-2. We still came away with 2 goals, and obviously the game was against Sunderland and Fulham, where we won both games of clean sheets, controlled those games, kind of showed essentially that we're levels above those teams, even when we don't have all of our players. Newcastle beginning to show green shoots of recovery. So as we look into the starting lineup of this fixture, now FOTMob have made a few changes here that I don't necessarily think are gonna be in this game. FOTMob have, for instance, for Newcastle, they have Almiron on the right. I believe Eddie Howe will stick with Jacob Murphy, and yeah, I think that's the main change actually. So otherwise, the backline will look the same. I know that Trippier came off the Fulham game with kind of holding his groin, but he did say himself in an interview that he's fit, he's ready, he'll be fine. So I back him to be there. The Bravo, who had a good game against Fulham again, showed good form. Shaw, Botman, who was imperious, showed himself well. Dan Burn had a better game. I think got man of the match for that game as well. Scored. Longstaff, again, a goal scorer. Bruno and Miley making up the midfield with I think it would be Jacob Murphy, Isak, and Gordon. Now, Villa's got a really good squad. They've been playing really, really well. They've got, I think, Jacob Ramsey, who obviously came up this morning as a potential approach from Newcastle United for him, as reported by Ornstein, is apparently injured, but could come back into this game. So they've got Tielemans instead playing in behind Watkins, and McGinn. They've got the formation won't necessarily be like this. We know that Villa play over a higher line. McGinn will be probably right alongside Watkins with Bailey on the other side as well. They've got Felix Cash on the right, where I think Konza might play on the right, with Diego Carlos making up that right centre-back position. Longley being, I think, the weakest link of the left centre-back position, Moreno and Martinez, who again is a bit 50-50. However, I back him to come back in for this game against Newcastle United. So what are the key battles in this game? I think from Aston Villa's perspective, and from every team's perspective at this stage of the season, it's no secret that the weakest spot for Newcastle United is that half space between Burn and Longstaff, and people have been absolutely punishing us and flooding those players, those spaces, especially with really good, technically gifted players, and been punishing Newcastle with that. I think on that side, you're probably going to have Tielemans running in. You're going to have Bailey running in. I think McGinn though probably plays on that side rather than might also change and run into that half space and put Newcastle on the back foot. Villa like to play the high line. They push themselves up. They back themselves. Obviously, when you're playing the high line, it's not the line itself, but it's actually the pressing of the midfield and the strikers that makes that high line effective. And I think they're also the highest kind of team in terms of catching teams offside as well as a result of their high line. But it's the work of their midfield, it's the work of their strikers. So Newcastle are going to have to find a way to pass through that press, which in my view they struggled really, really hard against Fulham in particular, and the passing wasn't great. So that's one of the key things in terms of we're talking about this game that has to happen, that has to change. There's that weak spot between Burn and Longstaff, and Longstaff is going to have to work to come back in there. I don't want to see Bruno Gomes having to do those recovery runs constantly, because when Bruno's on that side of the field, he's not in the final third making the change. And the only time Newcastle were effective in getting through the press is when Bruno and Isak were combined to do that. And obviously, Bruno and Isak are the two of our most technically gifted players. So we need them to combine. We need Longstaff to protect Bruno's on that side, and also not. And we know that Burn doesn't like to come out of that position. He doesn't always know what to do. They've got to be able to communicate and to sort that out. If they sort that out, if Newcastle are able to get the defending in order, they don't necessarily have to be as good individually. So I don't think Longstaff is a better player than McGinn, for instance. But if they are able to play as a team and close in those half spaces, show that intensity that they had, they can push Aston Villa back. Aston Villa really struggle against big physical midfields. We don't have that. When Joe Linton plays, when Joe Willock plays, those guys are beasts and absolutely take over. We don't have that. Newcastle are going to have to use their best quality, which is to play as a team and take those half spaces in. If Newcastle have that, and I have the key battle between Longstaff and McGinn, and it'd be between Longstaff and whoever comes into that half space. If that battle can at least be managed or won, Newcastle have a great chance going on the other end, and that is where we have Isak against Longley. In a two-horse race, Longley loses 100 times out of 100, but Newcastle have got to be able to show composure on the ball, and sometimes even if Botman or Shaw get the ball, bypass the midfield totally and get the ball to Isak. Too many times, and this is me even speaking to other fans as well, too many times the movement and runs from Isak were being ignored by players, and they've got to be able to be switched on and get the ball to him. They've got to give it to him as quickly as possible. Sometimes just bypass the midfield and at least make Aston Villa honest. Gordon's going to have to chip in also with the defending and support. But when McGinn or Tielemans step up into those half spaces and try to expose Newcastle, what happens? There's space on the other end. So if Newcastle, if Longstaff in particular can, with Botman and Bruno, can work it out between themselves in terms of closing that half space and having composure on the ball, using Gordon, using Isak as outlets, they have a great chance to really punish Aston Villa on the other end. And with the strikers that we have, some of the most informed strikers, Isak and Gordon, we have a very high conversion rate, especially shots conversion rate. We have a real chance of punishing Villa. Also, the other key battles I think will be between Douglas Luiz and Gomes. Gomes, obviously, very own Bruno, is on a 1 yellow card away from suspension. And so, again, this emphasizes the protection that he needs from Longstaff and from young Miley himself. I'm sure the Villa players are going to be trying to target the young man himself, and so he's going to have to step up. Like I said, though, Newcastle have every chance to punish Aston Villa on the other end when they leave spaces. If they try to get into the half spaces, we're using Bailey, using Tielemans, using McGinn, that we have a chance to close them down, remain sharp, and if with show composure on the ball, 2, 3, 4 passes, or even one pass from Botman, bypassing the midfield into Isak, into Gordon, into Jacob, we can really, really, really punish Aston Villa. That's why for this game, in terms of score predictions, you may have heard before from previous programs I've mentioned, I back Newcastle United to win this game 2-0 away at Aston Villa, the fortress that is the home ground there. The record there is not very good. Most teams' record at the moment in Aston Villa at Villa Park has not been very good. However, I am seeing, like I said, the green shoots of recovery against Villa, against other teams, and I believe that Newcastle this could cap off that recovery arc that I'm seeing in Newcastle. I'm backing Isak to get the goals and possibly Gordon as well, and to return back to form. But let me know what you guys think. Share your opinions. Do you think my prediction is crazy? Let me know. Share me your predictions. And until next time, guys, take care and God bless.